my god.
I'm Bridget. I'm Bridget. She dressed as a lobster.
Get ready to celebrate. Something big, red, and hot is coming at you. Okay, no, we're not about to do that. You need to chill out.
May I get a round of applause?
You're watching Be a Lobster.
What up, everyone? This is Jenna with Be a Lobster. I cannot take myself seriously every time that song plays. I cannot believe that I made that. What the heck? What the heck? So corny. Oh my god. But yeah, so I guess I started this show, Be a Lobster. And today you're listening to it, if you're listening. So I'm Jenna McLaughlin, and this is the show that's going to help you come out of your shell. Too many people, including myself, care way too much about what the world thinks of them. I was bullied throughout high school, and the trauma carried me into college, and I often walk through campus head down low, afraid to be seen. And sometimes I'm uncomfortable in social situations. But you know who's also uncomfortable? Lobsters. Lobsters, when they need to outgrow their shell a few times in their life to shed the old one. It's called molting. Lobsters molting is like when humans go through challenging or uncomfortable experiences in order to grow. Just as lobsters shed their tight, restrictive shell to continue growing, we as humans often have to go through tough situations that push us outside of our comfort zones. During these times, we might feel vulnerable or exposed like how lobsters do right after shedding its shell when it's soft and defenseless. However, just as lobster's new shell eventually hardens and becomes stronger, we come out of these difficult experiences more resilient, having learned and grown from them. It's a natural part of life, both for lobsters and for us, to face periods of discomfort in order to move forward and become stronger. And on Be a Lobster, we are going to teach myself and others to get comfortably uncomfortable, to become confident. Life's too short to hide in your shell. I apologize if I sound really weird today because I literally am on an hour and a half sleep. Because I decided, last week I had on Mike Janey from Say Yes. And so I just started saying yes to a ton of things because I was just so inspired. You guys should listen to that episode. But I was so inspired that I decided to say yes to a photo shoot at 5 a.m. in LA. My roommate had some film left, and she was like, oh my gosh, let's do a film photo shoot on this mountain in LA. And this was last night at 1 a.m. So I was like, okay, whatever. So I went to bed at probably 2:30 and then slept until 4:30, and then I slept in a little bit more. But yeah, no, so I'm exhausted, and I just felt like I was on my deathbed. But there's also another reason why I could also be feeling like I'm on my deathbed, because today we're going to be talking about a topic uncomfortable for most. Aliens. Yes, the kind from outer space. Flying saucers, mysterious lights in the sky. But wait, before you roll your eyes or you think that I've gone full X-Files on you, hear me out. Here's the thing about aliens, okay? They push us outside of our comfort zones, okay? They challenge everything we think that we know about our universe, about life, about ourselves. And isn't that kind of the ultimate lobster moment? Shedding our old rigid shells of uncertainty to grow into bigger, bolder versions of ourselves? So whether you believe aliens are real, or a government conspiracy, or just a fun sci-fi trope, today we're asking the bigger questions. What can aliens teach us about stepping outside of our comfort zones? Because let's face it, nothing screams get uncomfortable like thinking about extraterrestrial life. As of recent, there has been a lot of alien news. I've been seeing it on my TikTok For You page. A lot of talk about UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena. And as of February 14th, the Pentagon's UFO report found over 700 new cases, with 21 the agency could not explain. And these 21 incidents occurred near national security sites, officials said. Some of the reports are attributable to a breakthrough technology. Like, what does that mean? And then my friend Fia said that today she was like going for a walk and she saw 2 alien signs. On someone's car, they wrote, "Watch out for aliens." And then a sticker on a street post was like, "Aliens exist." I swear, like, something's gonna happen soon. And I've been saying this for so long. Like, something's gonna happen soon. Something's gonna happen soon. Like, our generation has gone through so much within the past few years. Aliens is literally like the last thing. I don't even think I'd be surprised. Like, I genuinely don't even think I'd blink an eye if like there was some kind of like alien invasion or something. I don't even know, because I mean, we've gone through like a pandemic, all this sci-fi stuff has been happening. Like, this is literally, like, I would not be surprised if all of a sudden they were like, "Oh, aliens are invading," but they literally are saying it. Guys, I don't want to like spread false news, but like go on your TikTok For You page and look up alien, because I was just like scrolling for 2 hours, couldn't get out of bed yesterday because it was just like, aliens are living underwater, Pentagon whistleblower says this, blah 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 blah. Like, I'm telling you, stop like shutting it down. Like, everyone do some research, because it's crazy and scary. There has to be something out there. And, you know, in order to talk about aliens, like, I don't really know that much, but I know someone who does. So today I brought someone on who has an alien experience of her own. But the Chapman radio phone isn't working. Like, what the heck? So our request line's just like down right now, which is kind of annoying. So I'm gonna actually call her myself. So I'm gonna call her. I'm so sorry if I sound like sick or tired, because it's been a long day so far. Hi.
Hi.
I'm trying to see. Am I in the background? You might have to turn it off.
Yeah.
I'm just like down right now, which is kind of annoying.
You can hear me. Okay. We'll do like a little test.
Okay.
Okay, just say like testing, testing. We're on air right now, but okay, if one of my friends is listening, please message me if you can't hear her so that I can maybe like turn it up. But thank you so much for coming on today. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi. My name is Denise. I'm from Boston, Mass.
And you have an alien encounter to tell us about, correct?
I do.
I know, this is so crazy. So I don't even know where to begin. What's your can you just tell us like a little bit about like your opinion on aliens and like everything that's been happening?
Well, I just think that, yeah, I mean, there's like congressional hearings now. It's like going mainstream. So,
Mm-hmm.
They're beginning to tell the public, like, there's something out there. What is it?
What is it? I know.
What is it? What is it?
It's so it's so crazy. I know.
Mm-hmm.
So you had an alien encounter.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it a little bit? Just kind of like walk us through it from like the very beginning. I know about it, but I want to like try to make sure we like get it out so others can know about it too. So do you want to just start from like the very beginning?
All right, I'm ready to come out of my lobster shell.
I know, this is like is this uncomfortable for you to be sharing?
Probably, but
yeah.
Let's go for it.
Okay. Okay, awesome. Okay, can you walk us through what happened? Yeah.
All right, so you want me to tell you about my first experience?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was a child and I was sleeping actually in the same bed next to my sister, and I had another sister in the twin bed next to ours. So I just remember waking up and this being next to my head and looking at me with these big black eyes.
Oh my
They
God.
looked so big and black and just like liquidy.
What?
I mean, it was just like the eyes, and it was just staring at me. And I remember being able to turn my head, looking at my sister, but I could not move. The only thing I could move was my head. And I remember it just looking like at me. And I know that there was other ones in the room, and it was kind of like a gray color. And I just remember it just next to me, and it was talking to me like telepathically.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
yeah, I don't really want to get into what it said, but it did tell me that like it would come back when I was 12. So my whole childhood, I'm very afraid that this was going to come back when I was 12. And I do remember, but I did see it. So at first it was like a solid next to me. And it was gray. But at one point they changed into like white light, and they started floating around the room.
That's so weird, because I like literally about the like balls of light thing, I've seen multiple things like on my TikTok feed and like other things that people have said where they're seeing like balls of light. And like there's a ton of people who have been backing that up. Like there was like a Pentagon whistleblower who works for like the government, and she said that they speak telepathically and that they become like balls of light. Like there's
Like
something
energy.
there's something like energetic or something like that about these aliens, and like that's why it's like this breakthrough technology, because they're taking advantage of something that like we know nothing about, like potentially energy or something like that. Like a lot of people say that about the balls of light. But yes, sorry, continue.
Yeah, so now when they were spinning around as the balls of light, I could still tell which one was the one who was looking at me. And I feel like there was still contact between us, but there was at least 2 or 3 other balls of light as well. And then they just started going through the wall one by one.
That's
crazy. And they left one by one.
That's so crazy. So that was like the first time.
And I just remember telling my mom the next morning, and she told me that I was dreaming. And I just knew through my lifetime that that was real. What I experienced was real. I was not sleeping. So, and this was before, you have to understand, like the whole media, like, you know, before you could, you know, go get a blow up
of like an alien.
Of an alien.
Right. Like it wasn't.
When you're at, like, if you're at a fair and that's the prize you win. Like this wasn't, like, I didn't know about this. I was a child.
Did you even like call it alien? Like, what did you say it was? You were just like, these people.
This thing, Mom, there was this thing in my room last night, and I couldn't move. And she was like, oh, you were dreaming. But I just knew I wasn't. So, yeah. So I carried this around with me. And then I remember as a young adult, I think I was probably maybe 20. I was walking by a bookstore, and I just completely stopped because in the window was a book. It was called, and that was the face of what was next to me as a child. The eyes I just stopped.
Right.
And then
it was called the Communion,
the
right? It was like Communion.
By Whitney Strieber. Yeah. So I got the book, and I was like, wow, you know, there were similarities in the book that happened to me. And I'm like, what? So, yeah. So then I did have children, and so now we're speeding things up.
Time passed.
Yeah, and I have children, and one morning I go into my son's room, and he usually would get up in the morning. You know, the kids usually got up before me, and he was in his bed, and I was like, what's going on? And he said, well, I saw a ghosts in your room last night. They were doing something to your hair and to Daddy's nose. And I was like, okay. So I started getting a little freaked out. And at that time, I was reading another book by Raymond Fowler. And I actually reached out to him. And I called him, and he took my call. And I told him of the experience I had as a child and the experience of my son. And he asked me, do you have a scoop mark? Do you have any scoop marks? And I was like, well, yes. So an inch below my knee, I have like a divot, and it's unexplained. And I never knew how I got that, but it looks like a scoop of skin was taken out.
Oh my God. That's so weird.
Yes, I know.
And if you look it up, like online, I looked up, there's a whole book on it, and it's like scoop marks connections to alien encounters, and there's a ton of people who have like scoop marks on them.
So he asked me to have my son draw a picture
Of what he saw.
And then my son drew that
Drew
picture of a typical alien
Mm-hmm.
and, the grays.
The same thing you've seen.
Yes. So I hadn't told him. He was probably 4 or 5 years old. I didn't tell him about my experience. He was only a child. So I got really nervous, and I ripped up the picture. Now, he had also, Raymond Fowler asked me if I had ever seen a UFO. And I'll have to say, at that time, I had not. But within a few years, one night I was traveling down a dark road, 2 miles of woods, with my sister and her husband. And we come to the end of the road, and I hear my sister gasp and say, "Oh my goodness, what is that?" And I look up, and I see a UFO.
Oh my God.
Right above the tree line. And I saw it do a 45-degree turn on a dime.
Oh my God.
And it was making absolutely no noise. And it was like basically just going maybe 1 or 2 miles an hour. It was going extremely slow. And I turned around, and there was a car behind us. I just wanted to get out of the car, but the driver decided to go through the red light, and I was like, turn around. And the driver said, absolutely not. I'm not being abducted. My sister turned around and said, geez, Denise, I think you have a tracking device in you.
That's crazy. What did it look like? What did the UFO look like?
Okay, so it had made absolutely no sound. It was like a dark gray. So not like a plane, where a plane is like reflective gray. This was like a dark gray. And I was like, and it had lights on the top of it, had no windows. But I remember specifically when we were driving away from it, I said, I'm not ever going to see something like this again. Like, take it in, take something away from what you're seeing right now. Make sure you remember this. And I remember it had 2 white lights on the back, 2 round white lights. And there were lights on the top of it as well.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was probably, weird. I would say, the size of an average house, like in length.
It was, yeah, that's so weird too, because there are like so many different types like that. Like there are so many different types of UFOs, like than what you'd assume it to be, like kind of like the cylinder shaped sphere kind of UFO, right. But there are like different kinds, right?
Right. I talked to somebody about it, and they said, oh, did you see, was it cigar shape? And I'm like, actually, yeah.
That's like a cylinder, like a roundish kind of thing. Right?
So
It's crazy.
yeah.
Oh my
But I
God.
remember, like, when it turned, like, looking up, and I could see, like, underneath it. It was like we were under it.
What even goes through like your head at this point? Like, did you think you were dreaming? Like, I feel like if I saw or experienced something like extraterrestrial or something that I would not be able to explain, I would just totally gaslight myself into thinking that like I'm like not like that I'm like that I'm dreaming or something. Like, what even was going through
Well,
your head?
yeah, it was just unbelievable. And of course, when we got home, my sister immediately, called the police station. She called, and I think she called Channel 7, and they said, uh, I she called. I exactly don't remember who she called, but she made some calls, and they said, "Oh, I'm sure you saw a weather balloon."
What?
A weather balloon.
You're like, no, it was as big as a house. Like, what do you mean a weather
A,
balloon?
a weather balloon, or a blimp. Well, first of all, it was 12:30 at night.
Blimps aren't that
Blimps,
close, too.
and they're not that close. And blimps make noise. Like, you could be in your house and blimp is
You can
like
hear it.
miles away.
Yeah.
This made absolutely no noise, and I saw it do a maneuver that I've never seen anything do before.
Like the weird turn.
Like 45 degrees.
Well,
Like,
they're saying they're like, literally the government is like, these UAPs, like, they are moving in ways that like we cannot explain. Like, all these like whistleblowers and people who work for the government, they're all coming out and they're like, this energy, this like technology is something we've never seen before. So like if somebody were to see a UFO, yeah, exactly like how you saw it, it's like moving in ways that like we cannot explain or that we've never seen before. That's what makes the difference, and like that's how we know it's not a blimp or anything like that we did, because unless if they're hiding all this like secret technology, like the government's hiding all these secret technologies and stuff, like I don't know. It's so weird. It's like, I don't know.
Well, you have to know, too, this was 20 years ago.
Right, which is even crazier.
20 years ago. And then a few nights after I saw the UFO, a helicopter, I'd have to say military helicopter, was above my house. My house was shaking.
Oh, my God. It's so crazy.
It was 2 o'clock in the morning, and it was like, woo, 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 woo. But I can't, I was at my mom's, and for some reason, I don't know what happened after that or why I just went to bed or anything. But I do remember my mom the next day saying, "There's a very strange helicopter over the house last night. My whole room was lit up in a white light."
Oh my God. And didn't she say that she could like practically wave? Didn't she say she like waved at the person who is...
Yes.
The helicopter was so close she could wave.
She said that she like, yes, that she waved to the driver.
That's so crazy.
I know, but none of us got out of bed. Okay. None of us seeked out each other. I'm just like, what the heck happened? I just remember it was very, very loud. I was scared. I was trying to look out the window to see if I could see it. I remember I wanted to go out, but I was too scared. And then I just remember it gone. And
oh my God,
it was quiet. And then I was like, what the heck? What just happened?
That's so weird. And didn't you say that around that time you went to the mall to like go to the bookstore to buy stuff, and there were all people around like the UFO section of like the bookstore?
There was an elderly gentleman and a young kid with his girlfriend. And I wanted to like get a book because I had just seen a UFO. I was like, all right, like I want to get a book about different shapes of UFOs, see if I can see what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but I was too embarrassed to go down that area. And because there was people there. I'm like, oh, I don't want people knowing I'm like looking at UFO books. But
you've come a long way from the embarrassment because now you're sharing it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Be a lobster.
So yeah. exactly, because not even my own family believed me.
Right.
Everyone was like, yeah, okay,
Uh-huh.
you know? So, except my sister now, because now she saw
Right.
a
And
UFO.
didn't it took you a long time to tell your sister about how you had like seen the aliens, and then you actually found out that like she also had not told you and that she had seen the aliens around you as well?
Yes.
Like that's so
Yes.
weird. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes. So I did tell my sister, I don't know, it was probably, I don't know if it was when we saw around the time we saw the UFO.
Mhm.
And so I had told her about my experience when I was young, and she was like, what? She's like, okay, like I remember them being around you.
Mhm.
And she said that there was one next to her, and she says they were not interested in her, they were around me.
Oh my god,
So
that's so weird.
mhm.
And it took you
Yeah.
like a long time for you guys to like talk about it. Why do you think that
Yes.
is?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe just being a child and just wanting to kind of forget about it and just be
Yeah.
a kid. You
Mhm.
know, it's probably a lot for a kid, and maybe I did want to believe my mom.
That it wasn't real?
You know, yeah,
Yeah.
but I knew that it was.
Yeah.
So
How did you react when like your family was saying that, kind of like shutting it down, like telling you that they didn't feel that this was true? Like how did you react to that?
hmm. um, well, that's how it is with like with everyone.
Right.
No one believes it. I mean, you know,
Mhm.
didn't everybody once believe the world was flat? People,
Yeah.
I mean, people are like, oh, I mean, I'm sorry, like, how big is this galaxy? We're
Yeah.
we're like a drop of sand in a big
Yeah.
galaxy. Who's to say we're the only ones here?
Right. And
And
I watched a TED talk that like somebody was like it would be ignorant to think that we are the only ones in this universe. It would be
yeah,
egotistical to say that we are the only ones here.
right,
Like
right,
there's no way. There's no way. We would be like talking way too nicely on ourselves to think that this was like that
hmm,
we are the only ones existing.
right,
Everything revolves around us. There's no way.
right. The only question I have, and I think it will always probably go unanswered, is like, why me? And I do believe, and have heard that they will show themselves to you as a child, but they could they watch you through your life, and they could be taking me now, but they
Right.
don't let you remember, which
Oh
is
my
fine by
god, so
me.
you think that like do you think that there's like a potential that you could be like sometimes like being tested on and stuff?
I
Maybe.
right.
Ah!
Like, yeah, I've had a dream once, and I was like, oh my, and I'm like, I hope that was a dream.
Oh my
As an
god.
adult, yeah,
That's so
so
weird. But so you definitely like would not want them to visit again. You would not want to have another encounter?
no,
No, I'm sure no. That's
no,
really scary.
yeah, just leave me alone.
Yeah, yeah. You said something
Because
to me
like,
once like about it. You were like, I do
what?
not want to be the topic of like the next book or movie. So you're standing on that. You do not want this to like you do not want to be like have some movie made about you. You're like, no, no, thank you. Is that how you feel?
No,
Yeah,
correct.
yeah,
There's so many people that have my story, but
yeah.
but
Mhm.
people, people don't believe it. There's too many people that are, skeptic. But like you said, like, my goodness, it's like in Congress now, and there's whistleblowers, and
It's crazy.
documents
It's crazy.
and reverse technology and all
Yeah.
these TikToks and
TikTok.
like
Yeah.
what are these now? And now they're not even called UFOs. I'm sorry, they're called UAPs.
UAPs,
So-
right. I know they're like changing the name of them and stuff. Like, this is clearly being talked about amongst Congress and amongst people and like,
Oh, and they're in our oceans.
yeah,
And-
it's
right?
crazy. Yeah, they're saying that they're in the ocean now. That's like what they've been saying, that they're like coming out of the ocean like these balls of light. I mean, 5% of the ocean has been explored. It would also be like pretty ignorant to think that like you're saying there's nothing down there that's like unexplainable. There has to be things that are just like this is like literally just like the tip of the iceberg, I bet, and things that are going to come out over time. The world's so crazy right now. But so going back to the thing about the skeptics, what would you say to like any skeptic who doubts your story? Like, do you care if people believe you or not?
No, because you can never change someone's point of view. I don't believe. People have their beliefs. And I think that people are too afraid,
To open their mind to it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because it is frightening to think, right?
Right. Yeah.
So,
That is so true. That is so true. So like when you do share this story to people, have you shared this story to people like in person, like people that you weren't necessarily like super close to? And like how have they reacted if you have?
well, I actually have somebody that grew up on the same street as myself that has the similar stories as myself. So I do know,
What?
yeah, on the same street.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So, which is strange. And then, I heard, yeah. So, and supposedly his mom saw a UFO.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And it's funny, we lived on the same street, but other than that person, there's nobody else that I've ever met that has had experiences. But I did find one person.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and they lived on your street.
And they lived on my street.
And that would make sense. And like did their story like very much align with yours without you explaining your own story? Like how did this even
Yes.
come up? Like that's so weird. It's just all of these like really weird coincidences of like things just like aligning with your story without you even explaining what happened to you. It's like with the sun, like you wouldn't tell your 4-year-old son about like your alien encounter and what this alien looked like. Like the fact that he was able to draw exactly what you had seen as a child is just so wild. And then paired with like the book where that guy had had seen similar things to you. And then now I'm scrolling through TikTok and like other people who are sharing their alien experiences also have things lining up with you about like I just saw one the other day about like how they speak telepathically and like they don't speak normally like us, and like how like they are like infatuated with like the way that we talk and like all of these just like really weird things. And it's like you didn't even bring it up. It's just like people are just like having these stories like align with you, especially 20-ish years ago, before like years and years ago, before like ET, before like everyone's obsession with aliens, before people even knew what that even was. It's just it's
Correct.
so bizarre. It's so bizarre.
Right.
But
Right.
but in a way, it is so weird to think. But the way that I think about it is like it's honestly oddly comforting to know that like the world, like that there is a possibility that there's like like life outside of like just this. You know what I mean? Well, I don't know. How do you see the universe after these things happened to you, these like encounters? Like did it change the way that you like viewed the world in any way, or were you like not really surprised?
Well, after I had the helicopter, the military helicopter,
Yeah.
I just realized to myself that okay, like the military and the government know about this,
Right.
but they're not,
They're not scared.
mainstream. Yeah, they're
Right.
not mainstream about it.
Right.
So,
If it were,
so
yeah, that is true. That is true. If it were like a bigger issue, they'd probably be freaking out about it. But it doesn't really seem like these beings are aggressive in any way, or like,
right.
if
But after
anything,
I saw,
they're interested. Yeah. Sorry.
right, but after I saw like the UFO, I'm like, okay, so what's the connection with the government though? Like the helicopters over my house, like do they like know that like like I'm being targeted? Are they watching me too? So
I know.
you
It's so
paranoid,
crazy.
And then like, or you go away to like the White Mountains in like New Hampshire, and you're in the middle of nowhere, and you're near where the hills were abducted.
Right, like where like Betty and Barney Hill were abducted
and all
and
of a sudden
stuff.
you're looking up at the sky, and you're staying
Yeah.
there for the weekend, and you're like, oh my god, am I gonna be taken tonight?
That's so crazy and weird. Oh my god. But you know what? I think that I would honestly be a little honored. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, it's kind of cool. Like, out of everyone, you were chosen. Like,
why?
I bet they have like an infatuation with like souls and things like that. Like, I don't know, because like, what are things that make us unique as humans? Like souls and like the way that we interact and stuff like that. Like, they probably view us as these like little puppies, and they're just like, what is this? What are they doing? Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Right.
It's so crazy. Oh my
Because
gosh.
I'm from a large family. There was 8 of us sleeping that evening in that home, and for some reason, I'm the only one.
Yeah.
So I don't understand that piece. But when my son was young, he's what got me too was he said that they talked to him through his head. Because
Yeah.
they told
Oh
me
my
to
gosh,
go back
yeah. Right.
Yeah, they told me to go back to bed.
Yeah,
And,
he
he
said
said-
that too. I forgot about that. Yeah, he not only like drew exactly what you had seen as a kid, but then he also was like, they talked to me through my head, just like how it happened to you. How does a
Yeah.
4-year-old rationalize that? It's just insane.
And I said, and then he said that they must have went in his room too, because he said that he saw them leave through the walls.
Oh my god. That's so bizarre. And it's also weird to me too, like the way that people on your street also had the alien encounters. Like,
Right.
I don't know, that also gets me too, like people having similar experiences like on your street. It's like, was your area a target? I mean, I have a little blurb that I'll talk about. Well, you're from Massachusetts, and Massachusetts has like a lot of alien connections. So, like New England, especially Massachusetts, has a long history of strange encounters with UFOs and aliens. And the first documented UFO sighting in America dates back to 1639, when Massachusetts Bay Colony Governor John Winthrop recorded unidentified lights in the sky over Boston. And then in 1967, Betty Andresen of South Ashburnham reported being abducted by gray aliens with large eyes, an experience that became one of the region's most famous abduction cases. And then 2 years later, September 1st, 1969, over 250 people in Berkshire County allegedly witnessed a UFO in an event now recognized as a historic incident. And to this day, Massachusetts continues to be a popular place for unexplained activity, with nearly 2,000 UFO sightings on record. So it's like, is Massachusetts, New England like a target? Or like, because I mean, if the first documented sighting ever happened and you're from Massachusetts, and then there are people on your street also seeing things, and then you go to the bookstore and the people at the bookstore had alien experiences and all of these things, it's like it just leaves that lingering question. It's like, what's happening here? You know what I mean?
Yes, when I was at the bookstore, I don't think we completed the story.
Yeah.
The old gentleman saw a UFO like a few nights before.
And like, it must have just been happening at the time. It's crazy.
Yeah, and the kid said that he thought his girlfriend said he thinks he's being abducted.
Oh my
And
god.
I know they wanted to like exchange phone numbers and stuff, but I was like so freaked out. I like ran out of the bookstore. I don't even think I bought the book. I was just
Yeah.
like, what the, like this is getting too real.
Right? It sounds so weird. Ugh, it's
This
so
was, and
creepy.
I know. I mean, I was only young, you know. Yeah.
It's so crazy. So what do you think? So at first you obviously started and you didn't really like feel comfortable sharing it. Why over time do you think that you've become comfortable with like telling the story and talking about it?
Well, maybe because it's everywhere now. So, you know,
It's
and
not
I
so
think
taboo.
it and people are now seeming to be interested in it, and yeah. So I think maybe now people, like last year, people, they were like, oh, you know, there's aliens, and people are like, yeah, okay. Did you hear there's aliens? And
I know.
it didn't even really affect people. It's
Yeah.
like it's like, I don't know. It's funny.
I know. I always see videos online where like there'll be people talking about aliens or like crazy things that are happening like in the world, and everyone in the comments is like, "So do I have to go to work tomorrow?" Or they're like, "Should I pay my bill this month? Or is there going to be like an alien takeover? Or, like robots are going to take over the world or something like that?" And I feel like everyone's just like so done. Like nobody really, everyone's
Right?
just like, "Yep, I guess so. Whatever." Like, I don't know. Should I go to my desk job? Like, whatever. But honestly,
Yeah.
that's kind of how I feel. Like, I don't know. I totally believe it. Like, I believe in all of it. Especially knowing you too. It's like you have nothing to gain from telling this story, and you actually don't want to gain anything. It's like there's way too many coincidences for, like, I just know how reliable of a source you are, and like how like there's no reason for you to like have to tell this story. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like
Yeah.
so I guess it from that, but also even had I not known you and I was just hearing things like about anything kind of extraterrestrial, I totally believe it. Like, I believe in ghosts. I believe in all of it. Just because, I don't know. I totally do. I believe in energy and things like that. So,
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear what other people think who are listening today. But what do you do you have anything else that you would like to say or talk about before we wrap up?
No, I just want to thank you so much for letting me be on your show.
Of
So
course.
thank you so much.
Thank you
It
so
was
much for telling your story. It's crazy. Like, wow. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thanks for having me as your guest. I really had fun.
Of course, me too. And did you feel like did you feel like you were being a lobster today?
I definitely shed. I molted today. Right?
You molted
It's
today.
I
Yeah.
molted.
I would agree. I would agree. I would agree. And I think that a lot of people listening definitely could have molted today too, to open their mind to the fact that there could be some extraterrestrial things happening in our world. So thank you so much, Denise, for coming on today and sharing your story.
All right. Thank you, Jenna.
Of course. Bye.
Bye.
You guys, isn't that literally crazy? I mean, the story like that. The story stands by itself. Like, I don't know. I don't really know what else to say. Like, I 100%. I do believe in aliens. I don't know. Everyone, I'm gonna post on my Instagram story, a little kind of like blurb thing where you can, like the text thing where you can send in opinions or questions on my Be a Lobster Instagram. And I want to hear what you guys have to say about this episode, if it changed your perspective in any way, if you're still super skeptical, like how you're feeling about all of this, because I think it's pretty crazy. I think that some stuff's gonna go down soon in terms of alien life on this earth, because wouldn't that be like kind of fun too? I mean, spice things up. Like, we're so used to like humans, boring, like whatever, let's spice things up. Like, no, I don't want to go work my desk job tomorrow. Let's just have an alien invasion. You know what I mean? Come on. Life's so short. Like, yeah, aliens live in the ocean. Aliens, whatever. Like, yeah, whatever. Mermaids are probably real too. 5% of the ocean was unexplored. Tons of other things are probably real too. They just won't tell us. So, yeah, I'm curious to see what you guys think. So I'm going to post on Instagram, and you guys can leave your opinions, and I'll post them on my Instagram story. And I want to know if you got out of your comfort zone today, and maybe you didn't believe at the beginning, and now you're starting to be like, okay, wait, maybe something's happening. So, yeah, thanks so much for coming out of your shell today and listening to the Be a Lobster podcast. Don't be shellfish. Be sure to drop a follow on my Instagram at Be a Lobster podcast for show updates, behind the scenes, and more. I shall see you later, because it's a celebration. Goodbye, everyone.
Be a lobster, be a lobster.
Ew, she's so weird.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I'm cringing. Ew, I'm cringing.
She dressed as a lobster. Get ready to celebrate. Something big, red, and hot is coming at you. Okay, no, we're not about to do that. You need to chill out.
May I get a round of applause?